Hi guys, my topic on my research paper is how does U.S. education compare to the education system of other countries? Now, I was able to find 5 sources for this topic, and one of them is being a book. This book was done by James Coleman and Stephen Plank in 1997, and it is entitled Redesigning American Education. And James Coleman was attending a senior scholar portion of his college in a European university. And he realized that going to school in America and going to school in Europe were two vastly different things. So he wanted to come back and he wanted to improve the social development and the academic performance of students in America to get them to a point of European students. And he said that strengthening the social ties among teachers and students would facilitate building the norms that would motivate students to learn. And he also wanted to have higher education opportunities early on. So more advanced classes, more advanced workloads to prepare students and not have them take the easy route throughout their school life. Another source I found was done by Arkansas State University. It was an article done in February of 2018, and it is entitled, How Does U.S. Compare to Global Education? And now, this article was based on a study done on competitive test and standardized testing in U.S. and other countries. So they realized that after this, the U.S. is trailing slightly behind other countries, but they're not last. They're actually in the middle range when ranked in ranking of different educational systems. And the polls have shown that U.S. students underperform and they are spending less times in schools compared to the ones in other countries. And they also think that it's because here in America, teachers are also under-respected and do not receive the same earning potential as teachers in other countries. They also went on to state that if a teacher is feeling under-respected or undervalued, they're not getting to be a part of important discussions among the schooling. This can actually reflect on to students because the teacher will not want to teach or will not find the same joy in teaching, so they would often not teach with the same enthusiasm or want to have the students achieve. And then they also talked about teachers' pay. And this article is mostly about the teacher aspect of the student because the teacher is the one that is solely responsible for continuing that education on with the student. And if that teacher is not paid correctly or cannot speak their mind, cannot teach what they want to teach, or have no say, then that's gonna be something that they're going to reflect onto their students, and they're not going to care as much. I found another article done by the National Conference of State Legislators. This is a blog done by Lee Posley. And the United States has a higher percentage of disadvantaged educational opportunities for students with educational disorders. And they argue that this is an effect of their competitive ranking. However, this also states that America has many more sources and opportunities for students that do show a disadvantage in their learning compared to other countries. So just because as America has more students that struggle with learning, they are not ranked less because of that, because we do facilitate for those students. I found another blog done by Jen Hatfield, and this one was done in 2015. She says her is entitled, Here's How Different the U.S. Education System is versus Other Nations. And Jean Hatfield is also restating a lot that I have already seen in other sources, but she says that we differ from other nations because we let our state government control each individual state education compared to the federal government. And we have public and private schools, which public schools get funding from the government and they have to follow rules and regulations to make sure that funding is going appropriately. And some other countries have a national curriculum which puts all the students learning the exact same thing throughout that nation. And here in America, we don't have that. We have some students that learn things in 3rd grade, but then another state won't teach that till 5th grade. And another state won't teach that at all. So doing that, all of our students are different. So when you take that big nationwide test on a topic that is spread out throughout the whole test throughout the nation, not all those students are going to be able to pass that portion of the test because they did not all learn it at the same time or the same way. And that can be a big part of how, like, for example, Germany and the Netherlands, they have a nationwide assessment, so they actually follow a nationwide curriculum. And they also have a public and private school setting as a whole. They work together, and then you have a public and private religious school, which is different compared to the public and private schools here in Nevada. They're completely separate from one another. You have your public schools, which are funded by the government. They tell you what to teach, how to teach it, and then your private schools are not funded by the government, and the leaders of that school can teach whatever they want, versus in other countries, public and private schools learn the same thing. Another one I learned was on the Center of International Education benchmarking, and their article is entitled Learning from the World's High-Performing Education Systems. Now, this source broke down some other nations and what their rankings were. They talked about Canada. Canada has recently emerged as an educational leader in the International Assessments ranking, and they have increased their teacher respect and targeted policy directs, and they changed the way students have learned. This article also talks about Japan, because in Japan, students work harder and they learn more than students in almost any other country. So Japan as a country decided they wanted to relieve the stress on a student without pressuring them, and they wanted to increase student performance but release the pressure. And they showed that that was actually a big way to turn students' academics around, because they did not feel as much pressure compared to others. And the final one is Estonia, which emerged on the top performer, and they have only gained their citizenship since 1992. The change in education, they did an entire change of their educational system throughout their entire country. And the economic development of this country helped that educational change, and they saw that changing the curriculum completely actually helped students. Once again, they're on a nationwide curriculum, so overall they just changed everything over the entire country, and they realized that that was what was working for their students. Well, thank you for this, and thanks.